You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
Alrighty, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Derek and joined as always by your co-host, Kevin. Kevin, how we doing tonight?
Doing good, man. Another wonderful Tuesday. Kind of a stinker of a Monday night game last night, but that's okay. We're on to week 11, right? We basically have we have two teams on bye this week, and then two more in week 12, and then 2 and 14, right? Is that how it's working out? We're taking week 13 off for Thanksgiving,
Right.
but we're not done with buys, right? So we're home stretching. So what that means is, last minute trades, a lot of trade deadlines are this week, really trying to get your roster in preparation for the playoffs and anything that you need to do to try and either make the playoffs or cement your roster so that way it can be the best it possibly can be in that stretch, right? Cash and trophies. That's why we play this, and it's getting down to crunch time.
Right. And I did manage to get it pulled up. So week 11, there's two, right? The Colts and the Saints are on bye in week 11. Week 12, there's four with Denver, the Chargers, Miami, Washington, and in week 14, there are four as well with Carolina, New England, the Giants, and San Francisco.
Okay. So we still have some, not really super fantasy relevant, though. Chargers, no. I mean, Broncos are all secondary players, right? Like there's not a primary player there that we're needing for the rest of the season.
Right.
I don't know. You're able to navigate, right? May not be perfect, but you can navigate.
Yes. Makes it easier anyway than it certainly has been in year past, especially because there's been a lot of those years in years past where all of a sudden you get down into the nitty gritty like this and you've got 6 teams on a bye in week 12 or 6 teams on a bye in week 14 when you really need that to cement the playoffs on that one. So certainly has been probably a better playoff or better bye week season this year than it certainly feels like it's been in years past. So
2 bad weeks. It was the injuries, really. I mean, one really bad week, another week that was ho-hum. Or I shouldn't say ho-hum. Another week that was, challenging, but it was the injuries on top of, what was that, week 8 or week 9?
Yeah.
That was such a pain in the ass. Other than that, it hadn't been bad. You're right. Like we've been able to navigate through and come out okay, right? I mean, overall, I feel pretty confident where I'm in, getting ready for this playoff push across the vast majority of my leagues. There's a couple teams that are definitely struggle bussing. Some of those are in dynasty formats and trying to rebuild or players that got hurt at the wrong time, but such is life. But like I said earlier, we're on the week 11, right? So we got a big push here this week, trying to get things right, and we're going to set the tone going forward.
Yeah, right. So it's definitely that crunch time there. Most of your playoff formats start in week 15 for most leagues, right? So week 11, 12, 13, and 14, about 4 weeks left of the regular season to cement yourself for those playoff spots, make that playoff push, and do what you need to do to get the job done on that march towards the cash and trophies. So certainly should be a good one there. As far as kind of looking into it, what were your thoughts? Any reactions, news, notes you want to hit up here?
Let's see. Bucky Irving's doubtful. I'm not expecting Ricky Parasol or Brock Purdy again. This J.K. Dobbins news is not looking promising. There's talks about him possibly landing on the IR. So if you've been holding on to RJ Harvey, this is why, right? Like he's going to be able to pick up his workload here, and he's been a pretty serviceable flex play at times, right? Like he's been able to get involved in the passing game a little bit. He's fallen into the end zone 4 or 5 times this season, so he's definitely found a role already. But if J.K. Dobbins goes down, it's going to be a big blow to this Broncos offense, and it means a little bit more RJ Harvey, so that's a good thing. Outside of that, Garrett Wilson, knee sprain. He's probably going to be out a couple weeks, so that's probably a big name. We'll see if Brian Thomas is coming back, right? We haven't got full injury reports yet. So, tune into the Friday show where we have kind of a full week's worth of practices data that we're able to kind of comment on. But, Jackson Dart, right? That was a bad blow and got the concussion. Dayball's out as the New York Giants head football coach. So that's, I guess, some news and notes that are worthy. Other than that, I would tell you status quo. Like I don't remember anybody major popping up that we went, holy crap, this is going to change the landscape.
Right. Yeah, it was really just kind of that Garrett Wilson news that was the bigger deal, and then J.K. Dobbins. Other than that, pretty ho hum on this one. So it'll be interesting to see. Right, the Giants, even with the rookie quarterback and all of that was not enough to, and all the injuries was not enough to prevent Brian Daboll from being out. So it'll be interesting to see what the Giants do moving forward with the head coaching spot there. So. Anything else that you want to hit up here before we start kind of taking a look here at some of the potentially some of the waiver wires to target, or the and the Thursday night games?
Let's see here. I'm trying to run through. No, I don't think I have anything major. It just, we're going to take it as it comes.
Okay. Sounds good. Anybody out there from the waiver wire that should be kind of targeted here going into week 11?
So I don't think he's out there too much, but J.K. Dobbins is a guy that you want to grab. Someone that you can keep an eye on is, you could look for Joe Burrow, possibly back for week 14. Jaden Reed from the Packers is another guy who's due to come off of IR. So there's another guy that you could potentially look at. Brenton Strange should be coming off of IR if you need some tight end help.
Trey Benson,
Trey Benson, right? Another guy who's potentially coming off. So a lot, if you can kind of catch the theme, right? It's looking for some of these guys. They're not going to have projections next to them this week. But it's guys who are going to be coming back in the coming week or weeks that you can stash if you have room on your roster and potentially help your lineup, even if it's just a little bit of keep away at this point. Like now, keep away is a game that you can play to kind of mess with your opponents as we get down this home stretch. Pick them up, and if someone happens to snag another injury, like potential trade bait on guys that you just snagged. So that's always an interesting aspect. So I think those guys from the injury report. Now, as far as players who are readily available, Parker Washington for Jacksonville, I think he needs to be stashed now, right? Like we know that Travis Hunter is going to be done for the season, had a knee procedure that came out today. So, RIP Travis Hunter for this season. That's okay. Brian Thomas has been dinged up though. And right now, Parker Washington seems to at least have some rapport with Trevor Lawrence. So he's a guy it's worth, pitting him on your roster. Maybe you have to play him in the flex spot, right? Maybe you're down to Michael Pittman this week. And so you need someone to kind of fill in that role, or maybe you're just playing a little bit of keep away. That's super interesting to me. Alec Pierce from Indianapolis is another guy that I think you can take a look at. He's been, targeted pretty well here by Daniel Jones for that deep ball, and a guy again that you're kind of stashing and putting away. Let's see here.
Hez Johnson from the Bucks would be another one that I'd probably keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely. I like Tez Johnson. The Bucks are hurting without Bucky Irving and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, right? They're three-headed monster that they thought that they were going to have coming in for this season. Just hasn't been, right? So they're having to fill in, and Buka's been a wonderful rookie receiver, and he's helping cover as much as he can. But Tez Johnson's definitely an asset there. Cade Otton, if we're going to stay in Tampa Bay, has seen a pretty big uptick in targets the last couple of weeks. So Cade Otton's a guy, if you're streaming tight ends and looking for someone, he's not a terrible choice. But yeah, either one of those Bucks, I think, are at least worth a really hard look this week.
Fair enough. I like it. Any other thoughts here before we start heading into the chat?
So the last thought I have, if you're not loving your matchup buys, you're struggling at wide receiver, or you just need a big game, take a peek at Trey Tucker and see if he's on your waiver wire list. He doesn't play until Monday night, but it's against the Dallas Cowboys. And so I want to keep with the theme, right, of start your guys against the Cowboys. Obviously, Brock Bowers is going to be a must start. Ashton Genty, yes. Trey Tucker provides some interesting deep shots or interesting kind of sleeper effect for this week against the Cowboys because he's been relatively quiet after his monster game in what was that, week 2 or 3. So he's another guy we could see resurface this week.
All right, I like it. Let's go ahead and hit up the chat and start kind of rock and rolling through that. We have Aaliyah saying hi, McMuffin saying hi, and Jason chiming in saying, would you trade Tet McMillan and Vidal for any of Hall, Judkins, Jalen Warren, Henry? I have Rico, so don't want 2 Panthers, and I also got Hampton back week 13 and 14 to trying to sell Vidal.
Yes. So it depends on it. I mean, I think all these are decent options because they're running fairly solo in the backfield.
Right.
So I think that there's some upside to go along with that. You picked good players to target. If I'm going rest of season and kind of how I feel here, I mean, Derrick Henry kind of scares me, honestly. Like the fact that he's not seeing goal line carries now, that they're going other places, like really has me worried. So I think I'd stay away from Derrick Henry, but Judkins and Brees Hall are probably both guys that I would take a look at. Jalen Warren's honestly right behind him. So I think yes is the short answer. If you're looking for a longer answer, I would go Judkins, then Hall, then Jalen Warren in that order. And I think I'd leave Derrick Henry out. I just haven't loved what I've seen out of him this season. And the last thing you want to do is make a really bad trade unintentionally, make a bad trade right before the deadline in something that you think is going to hurt you or help you, and it just turns out to hurt you.
Right. Yeah, I would also order that as that order as well, and I'd prefer Judkins kind of above all on that one as well. Just the strength of the regular season schedule and the strength of schedule in the playoffs. I like that best as well in there. So there's something to say if you're gonna be making some trades and moves and deals. Take a look at the schedule as well upcoming, especially in those weeks kind of 15 through 17 to really see what that looks like for your playoff push. And if you got guys that are kind of close in with one another, that can be an easy way to separate that out as far as how to kind of order that as well. So that's how I kind of look at that as well. Jason say, which tight end is best this week between Theo Johnson, might start Wandell, Strange, Cade Otton, already starting White? For me, it's Cade Otton.
I still think it's Cade Otton.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love the matchup against Tampa Bay, but I think it's Cade Otton here. Like Mark Andrews, no, sorry, Theo Johnson going up against Green Bay. I don't love that matchup.
With the new head coach.
Strange his first week back. I yeah. So I think it's Kate Otten this week.
Yeah, I would agree. It's Kate Otten for me. If you're starting White, right, and I think Jason, I've kind of touched on this one in weeks past. Like, if you've got two guys from the same offense but are in different positions, it doesn't bother me that much. Yeah, if you're starting a wide receiver and a tight end, okay, like I get a little bit more, a little leery on that one. But tight end and a running back, that doesn't necessarily have that big of an off put for me. And I think that Kate Otten has both your ceiling and your floor in this situation. I don't want Strange coming back off an injury, right? I want to see how he looks and, um, you know, see what that looks like. You don't just from the standpoint, if he comes out and tweaks something and I want to see what it looks like for a game out there. And Theo Johnson, right? The Giants are going through a coaching regime change with a rookie quarterback and, everything else that kind of goes along with that. I don't want to start that the week after. So it's Kate Otten for me and by quite a long shot there. By quite a long distance. Jason saying start one QB this week between Mariota, Rodgers, Geno, and Tua.
Unpopular opinion, just because some of the names on here, but I think it's Geno going against the Cowboys Monday night. Like again, like defense is not the Cowboys' strong suit. They give up points in droves. You could absolutely see Geno have a game. What was it? Well, earlier in the season, where he had 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like you could see him replicate that.
Right.
But I think he easily clears. I think he easily clears 230 yards. He has at least 2 touchdowns. I wouldn't be surprised if he has closer to 275 and 3. Like it just until the Cowboys defense shows that they can stop somebody, play your guys. And it doesn't really matter whether he's checking the ball down to Genty, finding Bowers over the middle, going deep to Trey Tucker. Like every level of the Cowboys defense is susceptible to the pass. So I think for the most upside, I'm playing Geno. If you want the safest floor is probably Mariota going against Miami.
Mm-hmm.
But Geno definitely has the highest upside this week.
Right. I would agree with that, right? And I was just kind of getting ready to chime in and say that I think Mariota has the safest floor, right? Like Mariota is going to be a very safe 210, 220 yards, kind of in that range. And it would put the line kind of at a 1.5 touchdowns through the air, right? So you also potentially get a little bit of some running upside there. Mariota may very well pick up another 20 to 30 yards on the ground, right? So I think you've got a very safe and easy floor with Mariota. With Geno, though, certainly the matchup is there, the upside is there, and I think that you could be in for a kind of rock'em sock'em kind of week there with a 303 type of deal, but the potential for bust is also much bigger there as well. And yeah, he could very easily come out and have what we've seen in the past. Tua also has a good matchup, but the matchup does not make me feel warm and fuzzy about starting Tua when I've got options like Mariota or Geno on that one. Any other thoughts on this one?
No, cosign.
All righty. Jason over on YouTube saying I'm in 3 leagues. My quarterbacks are Nix in 1, Dart in 1, and Jones/Dak in another. Which league should I target Joe Burrow and how much fav he back week 14?
So I'd target him in the league with Nix and Jackson Dart.
Yep.
I think you're okay between Daniel Jones and Dak Prescott in that league, but the other two with Nix and the one with Dart, I'd target him in both of those. I think that depending on, I wouldn't be shy about spending 30, $35 on Joe Burrow if I have fab left over after that.
Right.
You want to leave yourself about $10 for the playoffs. That way, if you need to spend $1 on a defense a certain week during the playoffs, because again, only less than half your league in most cases makes the playoffs. Our home league's a little different, right? So
Right.
most of the time it's either 4 or 6 teams that get in. So if that's the case, where it's 4 or 6 teams, that means at least half your league is most likely not paying attention. They're checking out, so you don't need to have big fab numbers. But I do want some dollars set aside in case A, an injury, or B, if I need to stream a player last minute, I need to be sure that my opponent can't get them. So I want to be able to throw a dollar or two at them. So I would I would tell you 30, maybe even 35, right? If you got $50 in fab left over, I'd probably throw 35 at Joe Burrow and then just live with the consequences of only having $15 in fab for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's kind of how I would look at that one as well, right? I kind of like that between about 5 and in a fab league, I really like setting aside minimum 5, but more likely about 10% of the budget overall season to be able to have that in those last few weeks there to really be able to kind of go after the guys that I need to buy a win, so to speak, if needed to. But yeah, I think that's kind of cosign on the rest of that. July over on YouTube. I just traded away Javonte and Zay away for James Cook and Brian Thomas Jr. I feel kind of off since Cook's playoff schedule is rough. Don't really care about losing Zay or getting Brian Thomas Jr. since the wide receivers are Rashee Rice and CD.
I think you should be okay with James Cook. I get it's a little bit tougher, but again, the Buffalo Bills need James Cook right now. Like, their passing offense does not look very fluid. It's very much almost backyard looking, like just, hey, Josh Allen, run around and try and find the open guy and then make a pass. So right now, they need James Cook, so I wouldn't feel bad about it. But I don't hate the trade. I really don't. James Cook is better than Javonte. Brian Thomas Jr. should be better than Zay Jones. Like, it just – he's kind of having a wonky season. I understand that. But like you said, if you have Rashee Rice and CeeDee Lamb, Brian Thomas is not that he's expendable, but he's a nice asset to have extra. So overall, you did it for James Cook, and rightfully so. He's getting the touchdowns. The Bills are running the ball at over a 50% clip right now, and we're 10 weeks in. So I think you should be pretty comfortable running with James Cook here for the rest of the way.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that, right? And I think you went out and got the best player in the deal, right? And at this point in the season, it's okay to kind of shed some of the depth, shed some of that to really go out and try and bolster that up with some of the best, better players overall at the position, right? And James Cook, even though the playoff schedule is a little bit rough, you're still dealing with probably easily a top 10 back when it's all said and done. Probably realistically top 5 might be pushing a little bit, but you've got the best player in the deal on that one. So I like it. And that's one of the things too, right? The Bills are going to be pushing for a playoff spot here in the actual NFL. Cowboys likely are not. So you could start seeing some interesting things down the stretch with how they start looking at it. Or do they start looking and seeing what they've got in other players and potentially getting some younger guys on the field, things like that. So I really don't mind the deal. And I would rather have the James Cook side of that one as well. So good job. Trone Force over on YouTube, 6-4. Would you trade Jaylen Warren and Debo for Rashee and Tracy? My other running backs are CMC, Barkley. This would leave me vulnerable if CMC got injured, and light on running back for CMC's 14 bye. Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? Jaylen Warren certainly has been pretty decent for you. Debo, not so much. The Rashee Rice, I like that one, but Tracy is a bit of a question mark. What thoughts do you have on this one?
So to this point, Debo's probably been just good enough, right? And I really don't want any part of this Washington offense going forward this season. So I understand wanting to trade away Debo, but I think Jalen Warren, it's 50-50 whether Jalen Warren or Saquon Barkley's better on any given week this season. So I mean,
And the fact that in week 14, right, because the CMC's on bye, and I thought the Giants also had a bye that week as well. And if that's the case, right, like you're going to have a hard time fielding a complete team on that week. I could be wrong, but
so Trone, I mean, I know we're trying to fly through this. Like, is Trey Benson on your waiver wire by chance? Because if that's the case, I'd do the deal, drop Tracy instantly and pick up Trey Benson.
right, and that fixes your week 14 issue, because yes, the Niners and the Giants are both on bye week 14. So
yeah, so if Benson's not on your waiver wire, I don't think you can do this, especially if you're fighting for a playoff spot, or if week 14 is the first week of your playoffs, like some leagues have. I would advise against that.
Or especially too if you're in a position where you need to win week 14 to
Yeah.
make it in, right? Like
Yeah.
having one running back's gonna be tough to do that. So
Like, yeah, that's. I understand the allure, but unless you have something, if you have something on your waiver wire that you can throw either fab money at, or if you have your priority high enough where you think you can get another running back, or really maybe even two for week 14, be looking at schedules. I don't think you can do this. You're going to need Jalen Warren, and you'll need Jalen Warren and Debo for that week, if nothing else.
okay, I like it. Ty over on Twitch saying, would you rather have Odunze or Justin Jefferson considering the team's future schedules? I never thought we'd have this conversation this season.
It's Justin Jefferson. Talent does take over. I think Jefferson will be fine. Like, yes, McCarthy's been interesting, but we saw Adunze go through a really dry patch in weeks 5 through 9. So it's not like he's been on fire the entire season. We saw him take a back seat for almost an entire month. So I'd rather have Justin Jefferson. Like, ride your horses in the playoffs, and you just hope for the best.
Right, and yeah, if you're gonna talk about scheduling side of it, right? Chicago's schedule coming up, right? Week 12, Pittsburgh, week 14, Green Bay, week 15, Cleveland, week 16, Green Bay, week 17, San Francisco, right? Like it's not a very flattering schedule coming up there. Whereas Minnesota coming down the stretch, right? Week 14, they get Washington, who's been pretty beat up. They get week 15 Dallas, like first week of the playoffs. There's not a better team to try and pass the ball against. So yes, please sign me up for that one. Week 16, you got the Giants. Okay, yes, please. Week 17, potential championship week. Yes, that one's a rougher one with Detroit, but Detroit hasn't been shy about allowing the ball to be completed through the air either. So, yeah, one, the talent for Justin Jefferson. Yes, check the box, move on. Two, schedule's better for Justin Jefferson as well. So, any other thoughts on this one?
Nope.
All righty. Jason asking, do I drop Mike Evans for Judy, Godwin, Gainwell, Corum, Gordon, Emmanuel Wilson, Sean Tucker? Also have a free space so I can pick two up.
God. don't know that
You've got 2 free spaces. I'm not going to drop Mike Evans, especially if you can just stick him in an IR slot and move on.
Yeah, if you're, I think I'd agree with that. Hold on to him. I'd pick up Blake Corum.
Yeah. On the off
Like,
chance that something happens to Kyron.
yeah, yeah, and he's been seeing a little bit more run, right? Like we've seen his snap share pick up each of the last couple weeks, so it's typically not McVay's MO. But if something does happen to Kyron, Blake Corum instantly is on the field for 85+% of snaps.
Right. So I would agree there. Jason asking, do I drop Nick Chubb and Tootin for Judy, Gainwell, Gordon, Emmanuel Wilson, Isaiah Davis, or Sean Tucker?
I mean, I think you could drop Nick Chubb for Jerry Judy.
Yeah.
I'd keep a hold of Tootin. Like it just Jacksonville seems fishy.
Highly suspect.
Yeah, right. I mean, again, it's not that ETN's been bad. He had a pretty good game this past weekend, right? Like, so it's not that ETN's crapping the bed all over the place. But again, especially if you have ETN, I'm definitely keeping Tootin. If you don't have ETN and he's just taking up a roster space, if you need a guy this week, Sean Tucker's going to be more viable than any of the other running backs on this roster for Tampa. But Judy's probably a guy that you could drop Nick Chubb and pick up Jerry Judy. And worst case scenario, it's the same output, just at a different position. Most likely, you're probably going to do a bit better with Jerry Judy.
Yeah. Yeah, cosign. Jason asking, should I drop Ayuk for Golden, Corum, Gainwell, Tootin, Nick Chubb, Manuel Wilson, Sean Tucker? Yes.
Any of the above. Get out of the Brandon Ayuk business. So again, I would argue that like Corum's the guy, unless you need a running back this week, then it's Sean Tucker. But Corum's probably the guy that I'd be looking at out of this group.
Yeah. If you need help at wide receiver, Golden's your guy there. But
surely you can do better than that.
Yeah, one can hope.
With Jaden Reed coming back, Christian Watson's back now. Like there's just all these mouths to feed. And Jordan Love has not looked good.
No, and they're not.
It's kind of like Bo Nix of the NFC, right? Like the final stat line gets there most weeks, but it's such an ugly way of getting there. I don't know. Like, I'm hoping you have something better besides Matthew Golden.
There you go. And Joe, over on YouTube, chiming in. After McCaffrey, my running backs are Woody Marks, Zach Charbonnet, Brian Robinson, Kyle Magungai, and Tyrone Tracy. Are any of them useless enough to drop so I can pick up Houston defense?
Tyrone Tracy.
Yeah.
I'd tell you it's Brian Robinson, but you're McCaffrey owner, so it's not Brian Robinson.
Right.
Like that's why he stays on. I'd tell you it's Tyrone Tracy. I'm not sure what they're doing there. Singletary's always going to be a pain in the backside, but I mean, do you really think that the Giants' running game is going to help your team going forward? Like, just take the name out of it and just ask yourself the question. Like, we know Cam Scadaboo's out, so any Giant running back, knowing that Cam is out, going to be who you want to hitch your wagon to. I would venture to say your answer is no. So right. I would then make the decision. You can drop Tracy and pick up the Houston defense.
Yeah, I think Tracy is a weak flex play at best going forward, right? Like,
yeah, and you're better off playing Charbonnet over Tracy.
Uh-huh.
Like Woody Marks and Tracy are about even, but Woody, now that he's kind of seeing that true lead role, I want to see if he continues to take it over. So I want to lean on him just a little bit more. And Manungai, like, he's earned himself some extra snaps. And whether it comes at the expense of the passing game or maybe it comes at the expense of DeAndre Swift a little bit, Monungai's done nothing wrong. So he's the guy that I would probably want to keep around for sure.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that as well. Any other thoughts on this one?
No, I don't think so.
All right. And guys, if you have any questions, comments, let's go ahead and throw those in the chat and get those looked at here. You're all waiting for some of those to come in. Let's go ahead and start taking a look at some of the Thursday night side of things. And yeah, it'll be a bit of an interesting deal there, and my computer decided that it wanted to freeze up. But thoughts on some of this Thursday night game. Looks like we've got. Oh, there we go. All right, yeah, it looks like we've got the Bills and the Texans.
Tampa Bay.
Am I looking at the? Yep, I'm looking at the wrong week. Yeah, actually, it looks like it's what New York and the Jets and New England is what I'm seeing there. Yeah.
Well, New England should run away with this game. Now, the Jets defense played better, getting rid of their two best defensive players. Like whether it's galvanizing the team, whether they were a disruption in the locker room, whatever that happens, but. New England's on a roll right now. Like they're just finding ways to win. Travion Henderson kind of had his breakout game last week, right? So we like to see that. We'll see if Stevenson's coming back or if Henderson's going to be able to play. Like he's questionable right now. He got nicked up a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. But regardless of, I think Drake May and the passing weapons, while not stellar, I think they're good enough to be able to beat the Jets and just continue to move on here. So it's not super sexy outside of Drake May and maybe Hunter Henry. Like it's not Breece Hall. It's not super fantasy appeal. But I think even Breece Hall is probably going to struggle this week because if you're New England, what are you game planning for? Right.
Right.
Garrett Wilson's out. So you're not really worried about the passing game a whole lot. So you stack the box and then say, okay, beat us. If you can't get Breece Hall going, then what? So I think New England defense is a great play for this week, honestly. But Drake May, and then whether you like Douglas or Henry or Diggs, like I think it's kind of scattered around amongst them, right? It's just kind of whoever gets loose. Drake May hasn't seemed to find a favorite, which is okay, but it's more like the Packers and less like the Cowboys as far as the target tree goes.
Right. So yeah, it's interesting because the line started at like a 12.5 and has moved started at 5.5 and then moved to 12.5. Like it is very firmly a New England kind of deal that's come in there, and the totals, like little surprised to see that this is a total over 40. Like I think this is going to be a lower scoring game just from standpoint. I think the Patriots kind of jump out early and just salt the game away, right? Like and the Jets have had problems with the forward pass all year long, and their best receiver is not going to be there. So one of those that everything kind of points to that. Watch, this is a Justin Fields has a career passing day type of thing. Like that just seems to be the way this season has gone. That he uncorks for like 300 yards, three passing touchdowns, and another 70 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Like
great fantasy performance,
right? But one of those that when you think that things are going one way, it seems to be that it just goes the exact opposite way. So but no, I'm kind of right there with you. I think that New England jumps out, gets out early and just salts this one away, and this is a rather boring affair to watch on Thursday. But any other thoughts on this one? All right. Mario chiming in saying, good evening, fellas. Lost my week by 2.4 points in part due to starting Garrett Wilson and sitting Juwan Jennings. I'm still wondering why start an injured player. That is that's rough. I did something similar, Mario, right? So I had Garrett Wilson in the home league and picked up Davis Mills to potentially start as a super flex type of deal. But with the news that Garrett Wilson was healthy and all of that, I was like, you know what? I think Garrett Wilson might outscore Davis Mills, and boy, was I wrong. So I feel that one.
Right. And healthy how you and I think about it as individuals is completely different than how the NFL tags healthy on the injury report.
Right.
Right. Healthy is a full participant in practice and didn't require any extra treatment. Like, not that there's not already treatment going on, but extra treatment. So it's possible that he felt great on Friday, right, going into the game, and got warmed up, took a hit, and realized, holy smokes, like this is not as good as I thought it was, and re-aggravated a little bit. Like, could be a plant, right? Could just be how he planted. So it does suck. I think every year we kind of have something like this. Was it last year or 2 years ago, the T. Higgins thing, where T. Higgins was healthy and then, or he was questionable, then they said, okay, T. Higgins is going to play, and then he played one snap.
Yep.
And it was a run play, and then came out, and then he just sat on the sideline. Like, unfortunately, it's how the rules are set up for the injury designations with these players and what the NFL does and doesn't have to report. All sports do this. Honestly, we just pay much more attention to it in football than we do in, basketball or hockey. Hockey's notorious for it, right? Like, oh no, it's a lower body injury, but he's fine, and all of a sudden he's out for like the next 4 games. You're going, what the hell?
Right. Yeah, that's always the fun one where it's oh no, he's good. IR. Like, that one always cracks me up when that happens. But
Right.
no, that's a great illustration and great way of kind of describing that. So appreciate that. But I do believe that that's going to take us down here to the end of the questions and comments, guys. If you have any other questions, concern, comments, let's go ahead and throw those in the chat, and let's get those looked at here before we call it a night. But while we're waiting for folks to do that, any final thoughts out there for the viewers and listeners?
Obviously keep an eye out for the injury news. Again, really hammer these waiver wires, whether it's trade deadline, you're positioning yourself for some last minute bye weeks, or positioning yourself for the playoffs, right? We've spent all year long grinding. Like, don't slow down now. Like, this is where you have people who are kind of out of it. They start to fall off, right? They start to lose interest. They start to, they're not looking at the waiver wire anymore. They're not, doing whatever. Maybe they accept a less than fair trade. You see this all the time. So continue to hammer away, right? If you are in striking distance, or if you're trying to position your roster in a better way for the playoffs, this week and next week are really the prime 2 weeks to get that done, because we have a large sample size of games that we can kind of use as negotiating power one way or the other. And as always, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back Friday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern to do this all over again and have a lot more clarity on some of these injury situations and better understanding of the start sits. But thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not seeing any other questions come in. So yep, that's going to do it for us tonight. And again, appreciate everybody tuning in, chiming in. Like Kevin said, we'll be back for, again Friday, 11 p.m. Eastern, with the Bet Set Snap underneath those fantasy football Friday night lights to rock and roll through that. But make sure that you're hitting that likes button, that subscribe button, wherever you're consuming this content. Really does help out, and appreciate everybody doing that for us. But that's going to do it for us tonight. He's Kevin. I'm Derek. Have a good one. Be safe. Toodaloos.